Hey dolls, welcome to another StarrStruck interview with me, Adam Starr, and I can't believe who I'm about to introduce, but the international superstar, leading man, leading lady, Olivier Award nominee, Brian Conley. Brian Conley, got it right. He has done some incredible things, own TV show, an audience with raw varieties, he's met queens, actual royal ones, and we're going to talk today about all the things that he's done. Got some lovely things to ask him. We've got some surprise guest questions. So yeah, it's all very exciting. And as you can tell, because it's for Mr. Brian Conley, I am wearing a shirt. Hello Ben, hello Scott, hello Holly. So basically, yeah, it's all very exciting. And he really is, and I mean, I've told this to him before, but he really is such a idol fan, such a fan of Brian's. He's so good at what he does, and I'm going to wait for him to join, and when he's here, I shall add him in. But yeah, so yeah, it's been gorgeous, and there is lots of things to ask him, lots of things to talk about. I've had such an absolute dream diving down his back catalogue, so to speak. But yeah, so I'm just going to wait for him to join us. And when he's here, I shall add him in and we shall chat away. And this marks my 98th. Because I've got a guest on Monday and I've got a guest on Tuesday for my 100th. So we're just going to wait for Brian to come. Darling, he's stuck. Are you there, Brian, darling? He'll be here in a second. And yeah, and again, it's just, this is so silly, but like, I am so proud of everyone I've interviewed, everyone I've spoken to. And I can't believe that something like this has happened. And just from me going, oh, I'm going to try and do something to keep my love of theatre alive and to talk to other people about their experiences. It's just grand. And yes, so I literally just went Brian Conley. So I don't know what to do. I'm so excited, so excited, I just can't hide it. But yeah. So, oh, cheers team. Brian, darling, are you stuck? Are you stuck, darling? Let me just, I'm just going to message him. Hold that thought. Hold that thought. We have literally just this second spoke on the phone, like this breath. Come on, Mr. Brian Conley. Oh, thanks. Right, this is mad. As if Mr. Brian Conley, gotta get right. He's let me message him. Right, he's mentioned me in a tweet. He's mentioned me, yeah. But darling, are you here? Brian, darling? He's here! Brian's here! Right, let's add him in. Let's chitty chat away. There he is. Show me the real Brian Conley. Hey!
Hello.
You alright, love?
Yeah, do you like my backdrop? I've been working on that. I put the lamp there. You know, I've got a little bit of that.
Mirroring.
And, you know, all my awards. None. I've got to close the door. My daughter's making a cup of tea. Are you making a cup of tea? You want one? Yeah, I'd love one. She's going to make a cup of tea.
Lovely.
I'm closing the door.
Absolutely.
Hello to you, Adam. I am extremely honoured because I know you've had a lot of famous people do this, and I know it's very successful. And I'm just happy to talk to the nation. I hope you're all well, everybody. Yes. I hope you're comfy.
Oh, Brian, it's a pleasure. And for someone who started this just to keep theatre alive in his mind and to talk to other theatre folk, to have you on as a guest is a real honour. We'll leave it there.
I love you, Adam, because you're a crawler.
Shut up! Brian! I won't bullshit a bullshitter. That's the truth. Mr. Brian Conley, what was the first show that you ever saw growing up?
Oh, that's a goodie. The first show I was ever in was Yeoman of the Guard, and Gilbert and Sullivan, and I played Colonel Fairfax, and I was 12 years old. And it's a great story. I've seen a few shows in town. I go back to Yeoman of the Guard, but the first one I really saw was at the Victoria Palace, and it was Michael Ball as Barnum. And of course, many years later, I got to play Barnum and had to walk on a tight wire and things like that. But the first, that was the first show I saw in town and just went, oh my God. But Yeoman of the Guard, and I am dyslexic. So I really struggled at school. And it was a long time ago, and dyslexia was not. Oh, thank you. I think very many people in the arts are dyslexic. I think I have embraced it. It made me what I am, and it makes me look at life slightly differently to other people. And I do have a sense of fun. I love fun, and I love ideally being happy. Of course, it's quite difficult at the moment. Yeah. But I'm doing Yeoman of the Guard, and my music teacher, Mrs. Griffiths, Welsh music teacher, said, we want Brian to do it. And they went, no, don't have Brian. He always messes about. It's going to be terrible. It's going to be awful. Anyway, suddenly I'm learning the script. My dad put it on a tape recorder. Fortunately now my reading, especially my learning capability, is really good, and I'm really quick at all that. But I put it on a tape recorder, and suddenly I'd done it, and I blew them away. And because obviously I always say I was born to sing, and everything else I learned. So the singing was very much there. And then we go to the school parents' evening, and my mum and dad say, we don't know what to do with Brian. He really excelled in this. He really worked hard at putting this together, but we don't know what to do. And Mrs. Griffith said, I want tickets to his first television series. My daughter Amy's made me a nice cup of tea. Come and stick your head in, just say hello. This is my
Hi.
This is my eldest daughter, Amy, who is a very good singer as well. You can follow her on Instagram. What is it?
Amy Louise Conley.
Amy Louise Conley. Go on Instagram. She sings a lot. So anyway, she said, we don't know what to do with him. She said, we'll get tickets for his first television series. So he said, you want to take him, we're going to put him into stage school. And so from the age of 12, I go to stage school. But many, many years later, and I was extremely honoured, I got the big red book on This Is Your Life. And they managed to get Mrs. Griffiths on the show. And it was amazing. And every year she always sends me a Christmas card. I always send her one. And many years later, I got her tickets for my first television series. Told everyone the story. She was sitting there, and she's always been so proud. And that was a very early days. And that was not my first musical I saw, but that was my first love and the first thing I got wrapped up in. And I've always had a fondness for doing musicals. And I waffled on, and I hope that answered your question.
Completely. And Brian, that's so funny that I had a teacher called Mrs. Holmes, and she said in my report, Adam would learn a lot more if he stopped talking. And then she said, he'll be on the stage. And that Mrs. Holmes, she was the art teacher, and I can remember everything about it.
My school report always put Brian Conley will persist in being the joker of the class and will not get on with his work. So I go to stage school, Adam. And I was about 12, 13. And it was, so I go into my class, and there's me and one other kid. There's meant to be 40 kids in this class. And I'm like, so is it just me and you then? And he went, yeah. I went, oh. So we're being taught for some time, maybe 6 weeks, just me and him. Because every other kid in that school was in the musical, the film Bugs in Malone.
No.
And I missed the audition by one day. And I always think I could have been in Bugs in Malone. So we move it on about 4 months, and these Roundtree's jelly adverts are coming out in America and in here and here. And they're doing Bugs in Malone. They want all the kids from Bugs in Malone. I don't know how, but I end up going for the audition as well, although I wasn't even in Bugs in Malone. I get the job. There's only about 5 of us,
Yay!
and I play a sort of heavy bouncer on the door, letting in this, you know, the people. So I always think I've got this advert where everyone went for it, and only me and about 4 other kids got it. I could have been in Bugsy Malone. And it was always affecting me. I would have loved to have been in that show. You know, the film, you know?
Absolutely. Brian,
Yeah.
you have done, looking at your back catalogue and the things that you have done some incredible things. You've had your own television show, an audience with, hosted the Royal Variety. You've had guests like Stevie Wonder, Boy George, Celine Dion, Leslie Nielsen, Alice Cooper, Catherine Turner, Vicky Tomlinson, just to name a few. So very quickly, who's your favourite character that you've created for television? Who's the favourite person that you've interviewed? And how was it meeting a real queen?
So, there's a lot there. So my favourite, what was the first one, Adam?
Favourite character that you created for your TV?
Well, of course, everyone knows Nick Frisby is Bumpy. Look, I've got it here.
You have not.
It's Bumpy.
Oh.
You know? And the one that's closest to me, and of course we had Septic Peg and things like that, is Dangerous Brian. That is me, you know, and that's my comedy where I give it all this, you know, I'm here, I'm in control, but I'm not. I'm very good at playing idiots, you know. Yeah. So Dangerous Brian, and I still do it. I do it in pantomime. I love doing it. And then what? So you give me 3 questions. It's
sorry,
really
Brian.
fun.
Sorry.
That's all right.
But again, it's so like the characters you created. Even now, I mean, speaking to people at work today, everybody knows who you are because of these incredible characters.
I know, and they were only for a couple of years in maybe the early 90s. I've done so many things. I've done at least 12 musicals. I've done 8 West End musicals. I've had, I was in the Grimleys. I've done this, I've done that. I've never had a proper job, and I've managed to survive all this time. But people will always remember that blimmin' puppet.
Yeah.
Peg, Dangerous Brian. But it was an era. It was an era when comfortably you get 15 million people watching the show. You know, and that would be like, oh, we only got 15 million. And it was a very different era. There was only 4 channels. So it really went out to the nation. Now we've got so much choice. So, and every week I used to do Dangerous Brian. I used to do Nick Frisby. So it wasn't like a one-off. So every Saturday in the show, Dangerous Brian would do a stunt. Septic Peg would do predictions. Nick Frisby would smack that puppet and hurt it. And you know, I do a stand-up, some singing, and had a guest. But yeah, it was the same thing. So it really registered. So
to the talk show that you had, Brian, you had your own talk show.
Yeah.
You had Cheers, darling. Who was one of your favourite people to interview?
Donny Osmond. Donny Osmond was so accommodating, so lovely, so you know, I mean, I was such a huge fan of Donny Osmond. We said so often when you've got the big stars on, they don't want to play a game, and you have to really tiptoe around their management and everything. Say, oh, we'd like to sing, we'd like to do a sketch with them. But Donny was up for everything, and we said we'd like to do Puppy Love. Can we do it as a duet? And he said yes. And I said, do you think we could get this prop dog to be around your leg, like as if it's, you know, making love to you, and as you're coming down, and they called it, you know, be sort of trying to kick this dog off, Puppy Love. And then I grab the dog halfway through the song. I will pick it up, and no, you grab the dog, throw it on the floor, stamp on it loads of times. The audience will go, ah, and we would like you to shout out, it's a puppy. And he said, well, what's funny about that? I've got to shout out, it's a puppy. I said, yeah. So I have this catchphrase where I say, it's a puppy. So will you, that dog, throw it on the floor and say, it's a puppy? Get a great laugh. And he said, okay, I trust you. I'm up for it, you know. And then during the interview, I said, we found one of your Donny Osmond's sort of like annuals. And in it, it had all your mum's recipes. I said, and he went, oh yeah, I loved it. I used to love the pie. I used to love that. And I went, well, here we are. We've made them. We've got them here. And he was like, oh my God. I was aware that this pie and certain bits of food that had been there all day, you know, and now it's suddenly 9 o'clock in the evening. And he went, he said, I was loving it. I went, yeah, and it smells like it. He said, well, go and eat a bit. And I went, well, you know, I'm okay. I've had something. No, go on. He said, if you eat a bit, I'll eat a bit. And I thought, oh God, here we go. So I started eating it. And then he started eating it. And then he started eating loads. And I thought, this has been here for like 8, 9 hours. And then I started eating loads. But he was wonderful. And he got it all down him. And he was just so lovely. This is a man that was and is a megastar. He's still packed out Vegas every summer. He goes there. And to have him on and be so accommodating. And there was many like that, but it was always a big struggle trying to get through their management, the people that were around them. And often when we were on the show with the whole audience there, that's when I go, should we sing a duet? And of course they are in a position they're going, oh yeah. And of course the audience go, yeah. And so we get away with it then. But to actually put anything to them before they walked on the stage was, you know, it was difficult.
Oh my gosh.
So that was my favourite one, Donny Osmond.
I love that.
And of course I met many people. I met Bob Hope. I'd done a tour with Bob Hope. And he came to see me. Well, he saw the show, me and my girl. And then he came back afterwards and he said, how old are you? 13. He said, well, my boy, you got it all. And I will never forget that, to have that said by Bob Hope. And Jackie Mason came to see me, and he said, and I was playing Jolson. He said, did you play Jolson? He didn't even know when he came to the dressing. I said, yes, because all night I've been talking like that. And then suddenly we get after the show, he's sitting there, and I'm going, well, hello, Jackie. It's very nice to meet you. As he comes through the door, he went, was it you who played Al Jolson? I said, yes, it was. He said, you have no right to be that good in front of me. You have no right. He said, when I watched you, I felt like a plumber's mate. That was Jackie Mason. Wow. And I'll never forget that. I know.
I mean... And
the Queen's lovely. I've met the Queen 4 times. I've luckily and very fortunately, I've hosted one of the Royals. And I've even done 8 Royals. And this was in the 90s when the Royal was the show. You know, nothing topped the Royal. And I met the Queen 4 times, and twice she said, what did you do? You know, so I've done the show, I've done this spot probably about 10 minutes. I don't know, it's like a little thing she says, and Prince Charles has said that to me. Marvellous show, wonderful. What did you do? And you have to go, well, I was on, and I say, oh yes, of course. But the Queen was lovely, and of course when you meet the Queen, you're not allowed to speak to her unless she speaks to you. If she speaks to you, you're allowed to say, and you have to say, yes, Your Royal Highness. Yes, that is correct, Your Royal Highness. And then if she says anything else, you refer to her as ma'am. Now, I would assume it was ma'am. Yes, ma'am. But no, you go, yes, ma'am. Like as if, like American. But that's how, and of course, before the show, the producer comes out and explains this to everyone. And then when she shakes your hand, she always just places her hand. She never shakes it. So it's like this. She places like that, you know? Of course, you wouldn't be able to shake her hand now.
Not, well, maybe with the gloves on.
No, oh, yeah, she had them, yeah.
Brian, there's no cohesion to this. It's just, I'm just going to jump from show to show that you've been in. But the last production that I saw you in was 9 to 5. That brand new spanking production at the Savoy, brilliant cast. So being a part of the creation of that new Envision, and obviously getting to meet Dolly, who you first called Bonnie.
That is correct. Well done. Well remembered. Yes, I did.
What was did you enjoy playing that part?
Yeah.
Was it nice being
I
evil?
was very worried. I was very worried up front because he is the villain. And I'd done the villain in a show called The Grimleys with Noddy Holder and Amanda Holden. A sadistic PE teacher. So I was used to that, but some of the things he was saying, about females and certain times of the month and things like this that he had to, you know, put out there. And I was like, oh God, I can't. And they kept going, well, you're the villain. You've got to be nasty. Otherwise, no one else has got anything to play off. The three girls, well, you've got to be as nasty as you can for those girls. And of course, it is a very different climate. And so me doing this was, you know, really tough. But then I started to enjoy it, and I started to enjoy the reactions I was getting.
Yeah.
And we knew that it hadn't really worked on Broadway, this show. So we had to sort of jazz it up, and Dolly wrote some more songs, and we all worked on it, and Bonnie worked extremely hard, as all the girls did. And we came in with other ideas and how we could do these scenes. And Jeff Calhoun, who was the director, very accommodating. And another thing that they done, because in the film and on Broadway, I get kidnapped, and then I go back to my house, and then I get tied up, and that's me for all the second act. But what they decided, and Jesse said, maybe I think because he's so nasty, he's a bit kinky, and he's into S&M. So when you get back to his house, he's got like this secret room with all this gear in, and I loved it. I thought this is going to be so funny. And we had the most ridiculous costume, all made out of plastic. I had a sort of a soft lining inside, so I didn't really sweat that much. The front was all plastic. The back, my body got a chance to breathe, and then I get trussed up, and I'm dangling there. And I'm now in this costume for the end of the first act and all the second act.
Yeah.
And I loved it. I just thought it was so funny, you know, and trying to be, of course, we had this scene where I'm coming back and proving my innocence to everybody in the office, but dressed in this bloody outfit with the, you know, the ball in my mouth and all that. I just thought it was so funny, and I just loved playing it. It was it was a five-handed piece. There was the four girls and myself, and it was nice that it was shared out, and it was shared out equally, which was fun. And you know, it just it was such a feel-good show.
It is.
To get to meet Dolly. Dolly never had to do this. The lady is a billionaire. She got Dollyland. You got all these wonderful hits, but she knew it hadn't quite hit. You know, it could have been better, and that's what she wanted to do. And now it's a fab show. It's going to go on tour. Hopefully, it's you know. I mean, the shame of it was we never knew what was going to happen. Now is that we didn't film it properly, and then people could have seen it online or something like that. We were in the process and talking about filming it.
Wow.
And that's a shame. But you can get all the songs on Spotify.
They're all on Spotify.
So the whole, yeah.
And that song, like you said, that song, Always a Woman, again, it's that idea that it's almost like Dolly has met she knows these men that she's writing about. And it's just a brilliant song.
I know, and it's also extremely sexist. Yeah, talking about like, you know, liking women to have shorter dresses and, you know, their cleavage. And people go, whoa, that's a bit near the mark. I said, well, Dolly Parton wrote it. I'm only singing Dolly Parton's lines, you know, and it's amazing that she could get into that mindset and sort of write these songs.
And honestly, Brian, there's to see you in Barnum, for never getting the chance to see you in Jolson, which everybody talks about how brilliant you were and what an incredible performance that was, Olivier Award nominee. To see you in like pantomime and see you in Hairspray, I was like, oh, he's so good at what he does. He's brilliant. But to see you on the first, I think it was the opening night at the Leicester Curve Theatre in Barnum.
Oh my word! And
it was you, and it was Lindsay, and it was Cameron McIntosh was there as well. It was so, I didn't book it on purpose. It was just so hyped the show was.
Yeah.
And to see, especially during Act 2, when you lose Chastity, no, it's all right, no.
Charity, yeah.
Charity
his
Barnum.
Wife, yeah.
His wife. I was like, I get it. I can really see that. I wish I could remember the song, Brian, but the one particular song where you sat half off and half on the stage, real song. But I was like, oh my gosh, he he is as brilliant as they say he is when it comes to doing dramatic parts. Being in a role, having a role like Barnum, obviously there's the fun and light, and also there's the dark and the shade. Is there any preparation that you do for that, or is there anything that you change, anything that you do differently for a more somber part than something like Edna, where it's a bit more, upbeat?
It's first of all, and what I do is I agree to it. Then I saw Michael Crawford do it. Then I saw anything I could. Also, not Kurt Dulles. There's another American star done a version of Barnum. I watch all the Barnums, and I start looking at it all. Then I start letting the script sort of drift over me. I love the fact that basically I knew I was going to do it a year before, because they had to get this time and give me plenty of time to map out a whole year that I was going to be committed to it.
Yeah.
The first thing is a total anxiety, and I have it with everything, especially as I've got older, I've got to learn it. I've got to know it like the back of my hand. And, when you're on stage, you have to, the only way the magic comes out of it is if it is absolute second nature, is if it is, and people go, oh, I'm no good at learning. Oh, I'm no good at learning. You go, you are. You can say A, B, C, D, E, F, G. That is learning. You didn't know how to say the alphabet. And that's how you've got to know a script. You can't stumble through it. You have to know it like the back of your hand, and then the magic can come, and then playing it out. And then I'm always aware, because you saw the opener, I'm always aware that I will be really good within 3 weeks. I will have had it bedded in. I will hit every laugh, every moment, every nuance, every, pathos. And then you start working on it, and then you start working. And what happens with me is I'm all right in rehearsals. I'm okay. But you give me a crowd, and I just go up. I go into fifth gear, and then I'm on stage. You're all looking at me. I got a mic. This is where I belong, and I can get lost in it. But I would love you to have seen it maybe 3 weeks in or something like that.
Oh, I did, Brian. I saw it when it came to Birmingham. I saw it when it came to Wolverhampton, because I was so enthralled by the piece as it is, because obviously it hadn't been done for years. But just to see you in it was honestly a real pleasure. And I'm not just saying that to be an arse. I'm just saying it because it was really so good.
It was amazing. And of course, I had to walk on a tight wire. I had to learn that. So very many months before, I had to keep going twice a week to this circus school in London. I was taught by this lovely lady. And then, of course, there was other things I had to do. There was a bit where I climbed right up the side and then had to fall back, and all the company would catch me. But that was really scary when you have to fall back and quite some height. But it was a marathon. It's a real big script, and he's very wordy, and he's very, and there's some fast songs. There's songs like, quite loud. Roman Terracotta, Live and Labyrinth, when he's talking about what's in his museum. These are all things that I know I have to get under my belt. And I am anxious until I know it. Once I really know it, I'm okay now. But there's people go, how do you learn stuff? You go, it's fear that makes me learn stuff. It's like, I've got to know this. I've got to know this. So, well, there's a film on the television. No, I've got to go in here and I've got to know. And of course, at the moment, I've been learning, and I'm pretty much there now with Scrooge. And our production of that, which is happening at Christmas. And Alan Menken's songs are really quick. They are sort of, what the poor have to eat, let them beg upon the street or apply at the workhouse door. If they refuse to earn, then let them learn what a prison's for. I abhor how they whine, how they want whatever's mine. Why should I give a thing for free? Let them beg till they blue. It has nothing to do with me. But it's all like... And so you got to know that like the back of your hand. That I always find scary. And I think it comes from way, way back with my dyslexia and assuming that, I'm thick, I'm stupid, because it was not recognised then. But that's the thing. That's why I know I have dyslexia. I can learn reams of stuff, but then I can have mental blocks on writing Sandra or just silly little words.
Yeah, same.
And things like that, and getting things back to front. But then give me you know, Barnum and big songs and big bits of dialogue. I can have it under my belt within a week or a few days.
But what was felt so lovely watching yourself in Barnum is that obviously because Barnum's that is such a huge part. He's the entertainer, he does all the tricks. He's the biggest. He was like the biggest man in show business of his time.
Yes.
And the little things that I noticed, I remember very well that during watching one show, during the brick song where you pass the bricks along, Lindsay's skirt unbuttoned and just came undone, not to show anything off, but just like was obvious. And you finished the song, and then without missing a beat, Brian, you went and fix your skirt, and I was like, that's what it's about. It's about the command of. Obviously, you as Brian, but as Barnum, this is your home. It was just so brilliant.
Yeah, and I love that. If things come in, I really know that this will get a big laugh. And I would never do it. I'd never break out a character. I would never say it's a puppet.
No.
But I know what they're thinking. We had a moment in 95 in the early days with Sean Needham, who's a wonderful actor and who was my understudy as well, and he played the big boss. So the big boss is coming into the office, and I've got to prove to him that I've been kidnapped and it was all their fault, and I've run this office and it's me that's done it all. And then he comes in and he's doing this dialogue, and the whole company are there, and then his stash, he's stuck on my stash, goes like this. And he just put it back, and I'm looking at him, and it's starting to get really out of control. And I'm thinking, Brian, you have to do something, otherwise this whole scene is going to fall apart. So as I'm chatting to him, I just grab it and I just go, I just pull it off really quickly. We get a big laugh, but then it all gets out of the way. And I remember Jeff, the director, saying, that's the best thing you could have done, Brian, because this blimmin' moustache would have just ruined it. So I just immediately, I knew it was going to get a big laugh, but I never played on it. I never give him a look. I just plowed on. But I do know if something happens, I do know we can get 5 minutes out of this. You know
exactly. Brian, it's no surprise to people who are watching. Hairspray changed my life considerably. Seeing that show, being a young overweight gay kid, to see that and to see the acceptance and everything, and just so important to me. And I'm not just saying this, and I'm sure Ben has told you as well. Your portrayal of Edna is by far the best I have ever seen. The pathos that you have, the comedy that you have, your voice. I mean, you mentioned that in another interview that when you were a child, you had asthma. And is that where you think you get your incredible, like...
I think playing Jolson, I've always had a strong voice. I mimic my father, who had a very good operatic voice. And as a very small kid, we're talking about 3, 4, I would listen to my dad's records. My dad was a cab driver, but he could have been a professional opera singer in his day, but he never had the confidence. But I would mimic these songs. So the big joke was, I'll be at a family gathering, they go, Brian, sing something. They all think I'm going to do Bar Bar Black Sheep, and then I go, and suddenly this big operatic voice came out. But the singing, you see, being dyslexic and really struggling through school, this was the only thing that I was good at, that I shone at, that everyone else went, oh my God. So I really worked on this. But it was playing Jolson as well. And Jolson is very much the way birds showers. And you would talk like that all night. You have this sort of real raspy voice. Mm-hmm. So there was that. And then, the original Edna, that guy.
Harvey Feinstein.
Yeah. So I sort of, facts keep evading, Castro's invading, but Wilbur, you're timeless to me. And then also, they said to me a really good note early on. I was doing it, and he said, you know what, Brian, you're doing it, but you're like a straight guy playing a gay man. And you're not. You are a mum. You are... Tracy's mum, you're a mum. And then it just clicked, because at first I was sort of like, well, and then I realized, that I'm a mum, and that's that. And once you get the gear on, and I find that as well, once I get the suit on, once I had the makeup, the wigs, it just all clicked. And of course I was lucky. I got to take over from Michael. I was in the West End for a year. I got to work with Nigel Planer,
Yeah.
of course, was Neil in the young ones, and the legend that is Mickey DeLenz, who was the Monkeys. He was the drummer in the Monkeys. And of course, with Edna, as you well know, I get to kiss Wilbur. And it's probably one of the funniest things in the show because he wants another kiss, you know, and it's all like, "Ooh, we're two blokes," and the audience know this. But I got to kiss him, and I have to say, he was a very good kisser.
Lovely.
You know?
Brian,
and on a two-show day, I got to kiss him 4 times a day, so that was good.
I mean, winning. Brian, did you have any advice when you took over from Mr. Ball? Did he give you any advice for Edna?
It's difficult. You know, it was a long time ago. I can't remember. I know I love Michael and I've got on well with him.
Yeah.
What was funny was everyone calls him Bally. Or Bally, you know, and I always thought that was funny because, you know, he's Michael Ball. You don't sort of say Bally. But, no, we talked about breasts mainly. You know, the size of them, whether we go for a sort of latex. He went for sort of latexy sort of ones because, you know, but I just went for the panto stuffing ones. I mean, in a word, no. Did I get any words of advice?
No.
You know, I remember all the fans was so, I don't know if they thought I walked in and went, right, Michael, you got to go now, I'm taking over. They were all like, I can't believe it. And Brian Conley and I kept going, look, they've asked me to do it. I have nothing to do with this. I haven't just chucked him out of the show because he has such a following. But he's always been lovely to me, Michael. Yeah. We've done a few charity shows. And me, him, and Michael asked me to do it. And Michael Starkey done a charity show once. And all 3 of us come on as Edna. And we also done, I believe, something like It's Raining Men. It was great.
I love that.
And I would obviously have to practice in my heels.
Yeah.
And I would be at home walking around in my heels, which to my girls was very surreal, you know. But it's a great part. It's loaded. It's all there. And the songs are wonderful. I loved working with Chloe. I just think she is and is a huge talent. Yeah. And I had a lot of fun.
Brian, being in the get-up as Edna, obviously it's well documented, not documented, but people mention that you get a lot more attention when you're dressed when you're dressed as Edna. Did you feel a different persona or not?
Yes, no. Once I got it all on, and of course, people would avoid me at the beginning of the night. So we're coming in, do a warm up. Then I would get in the gear, and I maybe stand in the wings, and you could feel there was a distance there because it's now Edna. And I felt this when I played Fagin in Oliver, that I'd be rehearsing, and once I got the gear on and I was all sort of dirty and that, all the little kids were like, ooh. But with Edna, I kept forgetting how big I was. I kept thinking I'm like a thin bloke. And like the very first night, I'm doing the ironing at the beginning, and the ironing board's there, and it was quite a small set. And I'm thinking, oh, I've got to get to the telephone. And then I'm thinking, well, I'll get to the telephone. But no, I would have to go like that. But of course, I did. I just walked to and of course, the blimmin' ironing board's fallen over, the telly's gone over this side, because I kept forgetting how big I was. And then I packed up smoking, and I was smoking then. And I'm in London, and in the interval, because you're not allowed to smoke in the room, so you go down to the stage door. I would stand at the stage door in the big fat Edna suit, without my wig on, with a bit of stocking on my head, smoking away. Not one person would look at me.
No.
And then so often, and I bet you find this funny, so I'll be there with my cigarette, just looking at taxis going by, and then I've done this so many times, I went, hang on, there's lipstick. Why is there lipstick on my cigarette? Thinking that someone's put lipstick on. What's that come from? And then I forget that I've got all this stuff on and eyebrows and everything else. But no, it was loaded. It was great. And I did tell you that story, didn't I? When Chloe and
Brian, hold that thought, because that's a question coming. So hold that thought.
All right.
Brian, the one last question about hairspray.
I don't smoke, but I vape, so I'm going to have a vape.
Go for it. Brian, again, one last question about hairspray. You were involved in that closing night where the roof could barely hold in the joy. And of course, a friend of mine and yours, Emma, got engaged. Brilliant, Emma Dodd.
No, he asked her to marry him that
Yeah.
night. It was, we said, you know, and before we go, we have a lovely announcement. Emma, if you like, come forward. And she was all like, and then the boyfriend came on, and of course she realised, and the whole audience realised as he walked on that we knew what was going to happen. He said, will you marry me? Everyone screamed. She was running about. And I said, you haven't given him an answer yet. You haven't given him an answer. And she went, yes. But no, it was all there. I loved doing the tour. The tour was very different. The crowds were different. But and I love working with Les. Les Dennis is such a lovely man and has become a very close friend over the years.
That was the pairing that I particularly, you were at the Grand in Wolverhampton for 3 weeks and I ushered there and I watched it. I literally worked every shift. And to see you and Les together, it was time. That timeless to me. That whole production, that incredible tour with Liam, Doyle, and Laurie, and Sandra Marvin. It was just one of the best creations of Hairspray. It was brilliant. So,
and
brilliant.
I'm working with Sandra now. She's doing. She's going to be doing Scrooge. She won't be playing Scrooge, but she's playing Mrs. Fezziwig. And we had a photo call the other day, and she reminded me that when we were in Wolverhampton, which you know very well, there is a tattoo parlour across the road.
There is. We had this conversation at stage door, Brian.
So Sandra went, I've been thinking about having a tattoo. I've been thinking about it. But, I can't. Oh, I don't want to. I said, Sandra, if you have this tattoo, I will come in there with it. I will hold your hand and I will pay for the tattoo. She said, and anyway, she agreed. And it was the funny. I wish I'd videoed it because she was screaming. It was hilarious. You know, you could actually hear from that tattoo. You could hear it at the stage door because it's not that far away. It's literally across the road.
Across the road.
There's stage doorman was going, what was going on over there? I said, Sandra was having a tattoo. But you're right. It was the cream. It was Division 1, the tour, because they had the choice of everyone. They were the best. They were brilliant, and so let's get them all together for this tour. Brilliant. So
going back to your childhood, a very upsetting story. You were told you were too fat to be in Oliver. Cut to you being Fagin in Oliver. Give me what was the pinnacle of playing Fagin? Did you really, really enjoy it?
I loved doing a review of the situation. I loved that song. I loved having a huge orchestra. I loved the darkness and the grittiness of it. And for me to be playing Scrooge for Sir Cameron Mackintosh was a different league. I had photos at the beginning, and I was, had this wonderful coat that was a bit like chamois leather, and it would wish around, and it was a brilliant coat. And I was wearing Russ Abbott's coat for the photo call.
Wow.
And I said, it's all good, all great. I said, the coat's great. She went, oh, no, you've got to have your own coat. And this coat was really beaten up, looking really dodgy. And I went, oh, no, I'm fine with that. She goes, no, every Fagin has his own coat. Well, how much is the coat then? He said, they're £3,000. This is why Sir Cameron Mackintosh has only got £1 billion, because he's throwing that money away on coats. This is a lovely coat. This is a lovely coat that then gets trodden on and trampled on and made to look really grubby. And so you'd think a grubby coat would be fine, but no, I had to have my own coat. And then I just thought, my God, this is Division 1. And walking past the Theatres with a great big poster there, Sir Cameron Mackintosh presents Oliver, and a big photo of me as Fagin.
Brilliant.
Was a wonderful. Yeah, I loved it. And I just think it's such a wonderful story. And there's not one song, you don't like, or one song that you don't know.
Exactly.
They're brilliant.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
So we have had, a bit like Nick Frisbee, we have had five people write in to ask you questions. Are you ready?
No one writes in, Adam. No one writes in. What, they emailed you, or...
All right.
I can't imagine you picking up postcards going, oh, I've got the first one here,
You would be happy in paradise, Conley. Right, first question from Jenny Gaynor, your fairy godmother. She's offering you.
Yeah.
She said, ask Brian if he could have three things, like three things to wish for, what would they be? E.g., a car, a Rolex, or a pair of Elvis's shoes. What three things would you have?
The shoes. What are the shoes again?
You can pick your own, but Elvis's shoes.
Oh, Elvis's. Did you say Elvis, the king of rock and roll?
Yeah,
oh.
Elvis.
And Dan, a pair of Elvis's shoes. Are they really Elvis's shoes?
Well, it's a fairy tale, but yeah.
I would. I mean, to know that, I bought many, many years ago. I went to Greystanes. We're talking 35 years ago, and they were selling, and it's probably a load of rubbish, but they were selling at the sort of gift place in Greystanes, bit of Elvis shirt. So you get virtually like a bit of rag, and it was in an envelope. And they go Elvis shirt, and so I've got that in my office. Like, oh, I mean, I actually know it's complete rubbish, but I just love the cheek of it that people have, that got bits of like I don't know, a bit of shirt. And go, yeah, Elvis says. But yeah, no, huge fan of Elvis. I have a Rolex, so that doesn't matter. And I've got a nice car. So
there we go,
Elvis.
job done. Ben Stock writes in.
Ben, we love you, Ben.
Love Ben. Brian would make a wonderful Harold Vandergelder in Hello Dolly. Clearly with him as Dolly when Leslie Joseph is at bingo. What one show on your big bucket list are you still yet to do?
Ooh. It's really tough. You know, I would never have thought 9 to 5 would came about. I'm very happy. You know the compere guy in Moulin Rouge? Because I can't, you know.
Yes.
I like that.
Harold Vidler.
Yeah, and of course there's talk of that coming in. It's really weird. I remember having a lunch with ATG who put on, 9 to 5, and they said, what do you want to do next? Where do you want to go? And I went, I don't really know. Genuinely, that's how lucky I am.
Wow.
That I've done all these shows, and as long as it's comedic, as long as it's funny, I know that's what I can bring to it. There's a lot of actors out there that, of course, can sing and play a straight role. But for me, I feel very fulfilled at the end of an evening when I've made an audience really laugh. You know that one, is it Two Men, One Governor? What is it called?
One Man, Two Governors.
Yeah, I mean, that is a really funny show. And I wouldn't mind doing it. I like to be able to sing as well. But yeah, whatever's out there. I have a few ideas. There's one idea that I have that I really want to do, but it's my own. I'm not going to tell you, but it's something I want to do. It would be original songs, and I really like the thought of doing it and the thought of doing it as a musical. And I just think it would be very successful and very funny and very stupid. But it's something. Also, what I wanted to do as well, and I started writing it for tours, was Brian Conley the musical, and just really take the absolute piss out of me and my life and people playing my dad and just a stupid musical that had all the cliches of musicals. So,
I love that.
Yeah.
Leslie Joseph of the Television writes in. Darling,
yes.
I can't do the accent. Darling Brian, we have done so many and had so much fun in Panto. My question would be, would you ever play Dame?
That's a good one, Leslie. I mean, obviously, it was very different, but I played Edna, so I've wore, bit of sparkly stuff. My comedy is just, I mean, I've thought about it. I have thought about it because I thought, well, I can't do buttons forever. Not now. I've gone for the new lockdown look.
Everybody, my mom is a particular big fan of it.
I'm really, everyone loves it, so I'm sort of sticking with it. I mean, of course, with lockdown, And whatever I've done before, whether it be 9/5 or things like that, is always called for someone to have darker hair. But now I think, oh no, and it's a lot easier. Blimey, you have to shave, you just leave it. But I'm very surprised of how white it's gone. I thought, oh, it might be this, but it's really white. But I'm happy with it. Right, what was you saying? Would I play Dame? No. And
would you play Dame? No. Next question.
Yeah, my comedy wouldn't suit it, and my silliness. What I could do, and I've even spoke to Michael Harrison about this, and Catherine and that. I said, listen, I can't play buttons all the time. So you could play wishy-washy. So, of course, that's in Aladdin. So you've got Aladdin, who's the lead, but then you could have wishy-washy, who likes and wants to marry So Shy, who is the princess's handmaiden. Also, he can be in everything. He's the brother. He can mess everything up. He can even be in the cave, and you can play it much older. Yeah. So I thought, well, but I can't play buttons. Not now. You can't have a grey-haired buttons. It's not going to work.
You can, you absolutely can. Chloe Hart writes in, Brian.
I love Chloe. And of course, Chloe was Tracy Turnblad.
Chloe Hart writes in, Brian was such a generous man to me on and off stage. Ask him to tell you the story when Wilbur was late. Much love, Mama, Chloe.
Oh, I do remember. So we had Adam. Is it Adam?
Adam Price.
Yeah, Adam. So Pricey was the understudy for Wilbur, my husband, and basically we had that very first scene, and it's just about before he comes on, Pricey, but because he's understudy, he's not been doing it that often, and he basically just forgot. He said, Brian, I don't know what happened. I was chatting in the wings. I just forgot that's the moment I'm supposed to come on. And whenever you're on stage and something like that happens, which is not too often, it feels like an eternity. So I started going, I was sitting there and I don't know. I started going into my act. And there's a little bit I do at the beginning of my act where I say, it's wonderful to be here because I do feel that this show falls between the ethereal quality in the mind of other intellectuals and the cultural necessity of the urban lifestyle from which it grew, because it's a show of participant elimination involving assessment, placement of and it goes on like that. Yeah. Well, anyway, I thought, well, I've got to fill in this gap. What am I going to do? And as Edna Turnblad, I go, well, let me tell you, Tracy, I feel that the show falls between, because I'm talking now about the Corny Collins show on television.
Yeah.
I feel that this show falls between the ethereal quality and you can just see, like, what on earth is going on here? What is he doing? And where do I go? But I just thought, I've got to do something. We can't just stand there waiting for him. And I said, falls between the ethereal quality and the mind of biological and culture. And you just ask your father about that. You just ask him. You ask him. Ask your father. Your father, I'm not kidding. Your father would be so upset. And I'm shouting, your father. Anyway, eventually he comes on.
I love that. I just think it's great. It's such a great story. Ray Tizard sends his love.
Oh, I love Ray.
What a bloke.
Hold on, Ray.
Hold on.
It's Ray.
Ray Tizard from Wolverhampton. He was your underneath the table
original Larry Lover puppeteer, and Ray used to write a lot of it.
Yeah,
he used to write a lot of the jokes and bits, even for other sketches. And of course, Ray then worked with Joe Pasquale.
Yeah.
And Ray, in his younger day, used to look like from Batman, the Riddler. From the 60s Batman. So that was him. We always called Ray the Riddler. All right, Rid.
He's brilliant, and he sends his love, and he says, I'm not going to ask Brian a question. I want to tell you one of my fondest memories of Brian. Being with Brian in Me and My Girl, and having Bob Hope congratulate him on a brilliant show, and then asking him to do all his UK tour dates as his warm-up.
Yes.
Brilliant.
That is correct. He wants to know about that. Does Ray want to know?
No, he doesn't want to know. I'm just telling you. I said it wasn't a question. He just wanted to tell you a fond memory that he has of you.
Oh, thank you, Ray. It was. It was a huge orchestra, like 55, and I was given the opportunity to do this show, and I thought, and I had to do all my arrangements, which was really for a 5-piece band, for 55 of them. And it cost me a fortune to have all this written out for violins, for this, that, and the other. And I was hemorrhaging money. But the fact that I got to work with him, had some lovely photos with him, and have a poster with him saying, it says, Bob Hope, thanks for the memories, with special guest Brian Conley, and be at the Albert Hall. We done some gigs in Scotland and that. And his lovely wife as well. You know, I got to know, well, got to meet. So, yeah, it was brilliant. And what had happened, he had come to see me and my girl, and I didn't have the heart to tell him, but I think he thought I created it. He didn't know Robert Lindsay was the first Bill Simpson. So he came back and he was so complimentary. And then a couple of months later, he says, I'm doing this tour, you know, do you want to be part of it? And even when I was on This Is Your Life, he even said a bit, Brian, when I saw you in that show. And then I often tell this story that it epitomizes fame, that when Bob Hope, not Bob Monkhouse, God bless him, Bob Hope came to see the show, he sat about 5 rows back with his wife and his son. His wife's called Dolores, I remember that. So they're like that. And then he brought out the row in front, the 3 seats there, the row in front, the row in front. So he had these, he brought 5 rows out so that he had a clear view of the stage and just sat there watching it. Oh. And I just thought, my God, that is a man who has got a serious amount of money.
I love that.
And it was just amazing. You know, like, yeah, when we had Tom Cruise come and see it, he had the biggest bloke in front of him like that. And he kept sort of looking around him like this, Tom Cruise. And we had Tom and Nicole Kidman come, and they asked to meet me after the show. The company manager came in the interval and he said, Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman would love to meet you at the end of the show. I was like, I went, tell them I'm busy. You know, what's up with you? But yeah, they came back
Incredible.
After. So, you know, amazing.
Brian,
and that's the wonderful thing about being in the West End. So often you're there and you suddenly, you know, who did we have in when we were doing? We had, he does that thing. He's a very American famous drag queen. RuPaul came to see 95.
Amazing.
And then afterwards met us. And that was great, you know.
Are you ready for your quick fire questions, Brian?
I'm like a coiled spring, Adam. I have to say, you've been very good, and I've really enjoyed this. I think there's probably 9 people watching.
There's 50.
I love you, 9. Oh, 50 people. Well done.
Brian,
is that it? I'm a big star. I can't believe it. I'm a big star. I'm only getting 50.
Hot or cold?
Oh, hot.
Walk or run?
Walk.
Dance or sing?
Sing.
Give or receive?
Give.
Meat or veg?
Meat.
Night in or night out?
In. Not in.
Coffee or tea?
Tea. Love a cup of tea.
Lily Savage or RuPaul?
Lily Savage. Sorry.
Cats or dogs?
Dogs. We have a dog. We got Ruby.
Beyonce or Celine?
Celine.
Hugs or kisses?
Hugs.
Day or night?
Night. I'm a night owl.
Sondheim or Weber?
Sondheim.
Bernadette Peters or Patti LuPone?
Yeah, Bernadette Peters.
Brian, me and you in a time machine, we can go and see any musical ever made. Las Vegas, New York, London. Yeah. What are we seeing and why? We have 2 minutes.
We see Car. We see Car in Vegas, which is Cirque du Soleil. It's got a terrible name, KR, but it was the show that I was speechless. Wow. And I couldn't believe it. And I couldn't believe the effects. The stage moved like this. It became a ship. It became that. It came like a wall, and they were climbing up. It came above us like that. And in the very first scene, I don't know how they done it, but there's this kidnapping of one of these 2 childs. It's a bit of a lame story where you've got the twins. One of them becomes a prince, the other one a pauper. But they do a kidnapping, and they have, I don't know how they done it. It was like it was absolutely like it was happening, but they had lit bows and arrows, so they were lit at the top, and they were firing over us at the beginning and landing in the stage on fire, going, and it was like, and you were like, oh my God. They had bucket seats like you would have in a car with speakers, 2 speakers here, and you were like that. And I couldn't believe it. It's a bit older, the show now, but some of those Cirque du Soleil shows are an event. And because the actual theatre, the hotel has been built around the theatre, you know, you do have moments where it becomes an ocean, it becomes this. But the set and the songs and the effects, that blew me away. It took me to another level. But as a musical that moved me, it would be Carousel.
Yeah.
You know. And Joanna Riding. Now, Joanna Riding was my Sally, Sal in Me, My Girl.
Yeah.
And I've watched her career and loved her and see she's such a wonderful talent. But when she does Walk On, I just went into this just heap. I was just crying. But yeah, Carousel as well. But then unusually, have you ever seen a big Vegas Cirque du Soleil show? Man, it's worth going. Last time I went to Vegas with my children, I went for 2 weeks. I don't gamble, but I see every show. I love shows. It's like someone might be obsessed with football, movies or something like that. With me, I love going to see a show and
ditto.
And seeing those. Sorry, say again, Adam.
I said ditto. The same. See a show.
Yeah, yeah. The feeling you get, and that's of course where we are now. We've not got that. It's heartbreaking for all of us.
Brian, I honestly mean this. No bullshit. No blow smoke up your arse. I really am so honoured that you've done this conversation with me today. You are such an incredible man. Everyone I speak to adores you. But mainly for me, art makes people feel less alone, Brian. And you as Edna in Hairspray made me feel less alone. You were brilliant.
Oh, isn't that amazing? What a wonderful gift that is, and I don't take that for granted. And also, I know, and I know you're going to put this on your site later on, and I want to say, you know, to everyone, listen, when my father died, I really had to cope with anxiety and depression. So I know where that place is, and I got help. I took antidepressants. And there is help out there. And if you are struggling at this moment and at this time, I want you to go out and I want you to share your thoughts with other people, with friends, and don't bottle it up. Otherwise, you will become like a bottle of champagne and with the cork on, and it's all simmering underneath. And I always tell my children, well, you know, like, tell us what's going on. If you're struggling, please let it out there. And there are people that can help you, even if it's the Samaritans. Don't feel, oh, well, I'm not bad enough to ring them. That's rubbish. Even if you've got a thought of you want to do that, you need to do that, then do it. And listen, I am living proof that you can get better and feel better. We're all going through a horrible time, but there is help out there, and try and keep yourself busy. And listen, it's a really hard thing to say this, but when I had anxiety and was in a bad way, I went to a psychiatrist and said I would do anything to feel better, anything, for my family and for my kids. He said, well, you've got to give up drinking. And I went, oh, God. He said, but when I drink, I have moments where I forget how bad I am. He said, yeah, but you have an hour, you maybe have 2 hours, but you're not on an even keel for 24 hours. So you've got to try and curb this. And I haven't had a drink for 17 years. And it's one of the things that I believe has got me through the business. And whenever I've socialised, I've always enjoyed socialising, but I've never had to get drunk to be happy. And it's put me on an even keel. And that's what I say, if you can cut down or just appreciate, if any of you are reliant, there are no answers at the bottom of a bottle. No. So and it's so easy now because we've got nothing to look forward to, and every day's the same. So when you sit in front of the telly or whatever, you get out of your head, and you've got to try and curb that, especially with anxiety, because that's like putting fire out with petrol. It ain't going to work. When I said to him, the psychiatrist, I said, all right, I will give up, but I'm going on holiday to Antigua and it's all inclusive. Once I come back from the holiday, once I come back, I'm going to really focus on this drinking thing. And he said the best thing. He said, well, Brian, won't there always be a holiday? Won't there always be a weekend? Won't there always be a birthday party? You know, and I went, I get it now. Okay. And it wasn't easy. It was really, really tough for the first 6 months. But listen, I used to drink all the time. Anyone that quits drinking has had a problem with drinking. And I did. I was never an alcoholic, but I did. And it was hell, but I did it. And I am living proof that you can get better, feel better, and enjoy life. Completely. And that's it. You've just got to pick yourself up, and there's answers out there, and there's help out there. That's what I'm trying to say. And I wanted to say that to everyone who's listening, because there might be just one of you that helps. And if I can just do that, and on your platform, Adam,
absolutely, we can do that. Go for it.
Then the world's a better
Brian,
place.
I remember it so vividly when you went on to Loose Women and you spoke about it for one of the first times, and you mentioned about you even took 2 deep breaths on the show, and I remember so much about, oh my God, obviously I have anxiety, and my parents are very aware of it, but to be able to show my dad, right, it makes me emotional, but I'll be able to show my dad and go, like, Brian Conley, you know and love, he doesn't choose to have it, he doesn't choose to feel this way, it's not. But yeah, Brian, we've got to finish.
Listen, I think what's interesting, my father died, and it was a gradual build for about a year, maybe under a year, I felt all right. But then the wheels started to fall off. And then suddenly I kept on having these like panicky feelings. I go, well, maybe I'm allergic to milk. Maybe it's that. Maybe it's this. I don't know what's wrong. What is wrong with me? I got to a point then where I was in such a bad way that I was this person that only a couple of months ago was hosting the lottery live in front of millions of people. And then suddenly I'm at a point where I can't even get out of the house and pick my daughter up from school because I'm too scared. And this was where I was. And it was, listen, so often it's a chemical imbalance. You've got to go and get some medication, get it in the right place. You ain't going to feel right with like taking it and it'll be all right in a week. No. It takes about 3 months for it to settle down. But after that, and getting a little bit of help with the psychiatrist, I just started to come out of it and not drinking. But I always say it. I am living proof. I'm the man that was hosting all this stuff, doing roles, and suddenly I can't even get out of the house. I can't get in a conversation with anyone because my panic and my anxiety just keeps coming through. I was beating myself up because I was going, what is wrong? Why am I like this? I shouldn't be like this. And then I suddenly start to find out more about it, realise it's a chemical imbalance. Don't beat yourself up. You know, and you can't run away from yourself. You've got to address it. And like you say, it's important that your mum and dad know about it. You know, and
that's thanks to you.
Tell everyone, and don't feel ashamed. Go, you know what, I'm going through a bad patch, as I'm sure a lot of us are. I am really trying to work for anxiety. You will find how considerate people are and how helpful they are. You've got to get it out there. Don't be afraid.
Don't be afraid. Brian Conley, you are a legend.
I know.
An absolutely joy. I know. An international superstar. I am so honoured. I can't wait to actually see you in person. Thank you so much. The last question before I let you go, Brian. What would be the name of your autobiography?
I know the name because I will be celebrating in another year or so 50 years in the business.
50 years.
A few people have asked me to do an autobiography because I have loads of stories about many people I've met.
Oh, yes.
Wonderful stories about Danny LaRue and just fun stories. I wanted to make it fun. And I've kept on being asked, will you do a book? Will you do a book? And I went, I don't really want to do it. I said, if I done a book, it would be like for my grandkids. That's all. And then I thought, that's it. That's my book, Letters to My Grandchildren. And it's just setting up my world, let them understand what my world was like with the clubs and how telly, there was only 3 channels at the beginning when I was on the telly, and then, you know, just explaining my world and the funny stories. And so that it's going to be Letters to My Grandkids. So that's what I'm thinking of doing. I'd love to know anyone's response out there.
Absolutely.
But I think that'd be fun. And listen, all I want to say as well is I am so excited to be doing Christmas Carol at the Dominion. I was, of course, meant to be doing pantomime. And for me, that's going to be amazing. And I'd like to say, if anyone's thinking of coming, it's all COVID safe. We have tested every day. And the orchestra are unbelievable. Freddie Tapner, who's a musical conductor, you won't have heard a sound like. There is 20 in the choir, there's 30 in the orchestra, and then you've got 10 principals, and they're called Little Tiny Tim and all that. It's a concert, but we're still in costume. We have back projection, we have ways of doing it so you do feel it's like a much more than just standing there with a couple of mics. There's all the pathos, there's the acting. We're not holding our scripts, but it's the sound. When you sit there, it'll be like being at the Albert Hall. Yeah. So I'm so excited to be given that opportunity. If it happens, great. If it doesn't, we're all in the same boat. You know?
I hope with all my heart that the theatre returns, and I couldn't think of a better person to see first on stage, Mr. Conley, than you. Have a lovely...
I watched a few of these, and I really love the way you do it, the way you just make your guests feel all relaxed. I would advise everyone to just have a little scroll down and look at some of the others that Adam have done. Obviously, they're not as good as me, but they're still very good.
No. You know? Love you, Brian.
I love you too, guys. Now, Adam, due to my naivety, how do I come off this?
You just wave and I'll end the call.
All right, mate. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for hanging in there. Look after yourselves. Stay safe.
Love you, Brian. Bye.
Love, but no hugs. I can't hug you, but if I could, I would. I'll tell you what I'd do.
Oh, God.
This is my mark. Have a great time tonight. I love you all.
Bye.
I'll go to Tesco's with that.